Hey, how are you doing? Welcome to the CGS Biblecast. So glad you joined me this morning on here. We're going to be talking about Bathsheba. Now, if you're doing the reading plan through the Bible, you know that we've already talked about Bathsheba, but she actually is around quite a while and actually plays a pretty important role in the Bible. So let's talk about that. So Bathsheba became famous for her bathing on the roof. Yeah, that's how we know her. When she was bathing on the roof, King David saw her bathing there and decided that he liked what he saw. And so he went after her and they had an affair. I don't know how much choice she had in the matter. I don't know how that worked. That didn't really go into detail. I don't know if it was considered mutual or anything like that. So I'm not going to read into that. But there was unfaithfulness there. Even no matter what, it wasn't a good look. And, Bathsheba isn't seen as a highest, standard of purity. We talk about purity in the Bible. We don't go directly to Bathsheba as a good example. And so, but, in life, you make mistakes. David definitely played the major role here. In fact, he had her husband murdered and her child ends up dying. So it's not a great start for Bathsheba in the Bible. But she is in the lineage of Christ. Yeah, that's right. Her and David have another son, and his name is Solomon. He is going to become king, and we're going to be in 1 Kings chapter 1 today, and we're going to kind of see how that all plays out. She goes to David and is like, listen, your boy, he needs to be the king. Bathsheba had the attention of David, and she could make things happen. Let's go here. 1 Kings chapter 1, verse 16 and 17. Bathsheba bowed down before the king. What can I do for you? He asked her. She replied, my lord, you made a vow before the Lord and your God when you said to me, your son Solomon will surely be the next king and will sit on my throne. So what's going on here is one of David's other sons who is older was like just taking over before David even died. David wasn't doing that great. He was an old man. They actually assigned someone just to sleep in his bed just to keep him warm. Like he just wasn't doing very well. And so Bathsheba comes in and tells him what's going on. It's like, listen, you said you're going to do this. You need to do this, and before you die. So that's what happens. Is Bathsheba? She comes in and makes this, reminds David and kind of coaches him. Like, listen, if you die and you don't make Solomon the king, then you're not going to live up to your promise. So he does. He makes Solomon the king. He becomes the rightful king, and we know him as one of the greatest, the most wise men, and he was a good king until he wasn't. That's kind of the story of kings in the Bible. Is a lot of times they're good until they're not. Solomon obviously makes mistakes, and we'll get deep into that in the next few weeks. But Solomon needed to be king, and is part of God's plan. Bathsheba's son is in the lineage of Christ. This line of David goes all the way through Christ, and Bathsheba plays a major role. Now, how crazy is that? You would have thought she has an affair, her husband is killed, her son from the affair dies, she's left with nothing and nothing to stand on. But David brings her in, she's a part of the palace, she's royalty, she has this son, he becomes this great king, and eventually ends up in the lineage of Christ. And so I guess the point is, don't count yourself out when things don't go right, right? You can decide to become faithful in the things that God values, and get your life focused and focused on what God thinks is important, and it can turn out just fine. And in fact, you can be blessed and you can live in God's favor, and things can turn around for you. But it just takes that turn to faithfulness, that turn to God. And when you do that, you'll start to see your life have more purpose, more value, and it just ends up being better all in all. So if you don't read this thing, start reading the Bible, start getting value, start learning what the Lord wants you to do, how look at these examples in the Word, what you can learn from people. They made horrible mistakes, but so many times in the stories, God redeems them, and they're able to do amazing things for God despite their mistakes. So don't give up. Keep pressing on. Keep doing good. Have a wonderful day.